These next tools that we're going to be looking at here are somewhat gimmicky, in my opinion. They have a limited usefulness, but when they're useful, they're tremendously useful. So let's go ahead and look at our symmetry tools. Now, if you come over to Canvas and we come down to symmetry, you'll find that we have two entries under this menu that are currently available to us, mirror mode and kaleidoscope mode. Now, in addition to that, we also have on the toolbar mirror painting tool and a kaleidoscope painting tool. So what we're going to start with is the mirror painting tool. Now, the idea with the mirror painting tool is that whatever we draw on one side of this green line is going to be reproduced on the other side of this green line. So if I grab the brush tool, and you can only use the brush tool with this, you can't use any of the other tools, and I begin to just draw something over here like so, you can see what's happening is that everything that I do on one side is being reproduced on the other side. And like I say, in certain circumstances, this can be tremendously useful. However, it's also somewhat limited because everything becomes very flat, very 2D instead of 3D. Now, in addition to having our vertical, we can also, if we come back to our mirror painting tool, you can see that we can also do a horizontal. And basically the idea here is that now if I come back and I start to draw, basically what I'm having is 4 copies, 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top, 1 on each side of this line, 1 on each side of this line. So this can be also somewhat useful. Now the idea is that we can also move these guys. So if we go back to our mirror painting tool, we can simply click on the lines here and move these guys wherever we need them to be. So if I come back over to my brush tool, now you can see that that's been moved to a new place. If I come back over to my mirror painting tool, you can see that I can turn off the visibility of this, which is this very last one right here. It's toggle planes. Now that does not mean that that is gone. If I come back over and I start drawing, you can see that it's still doing the mirror painting. All that's gone on here is that it's hidden the viewing of those planes. Now next to that you can see we can change the color of the planes. We can also rotate either numerically or by simply rotating the tool by clicking like so and then rotating. So you can see that this can be somewhat useful. Now if you only want one plane, just turn off the effect of either plane, it doesn't matter. If you want to disable the entirety of the mirror painting tool, then simply click on that button right there and that will turn it on or off. That's basically a power switch right there. Now, if you'll notice, the kaleidoscope tool is right below this. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I hit Control A and then backspace to delete this out. And then I'm going to come over and I'm just going to click on our kaleidoscope tool. And remember, that's right under our mirror painting tool. And this has a lot of the same types of controls. The main difference here, though, is that we have more than 2 planes that we can choose from. As a matter of fact, we can go all the way up to 12 planes. So you can see we can basically do the same thing, but at a much more aggressive level. Now I'm going to go ahead and set it back for something maybe around 5 or 6, that'll do. And switch to a different tool, something maybe a little bit more dramatic here, chunky oil pastel, that'll work. And I'm also going to go ahead and switch up color to something more dramatic color-wise. And now if I just go ahead and begin to paint here, you can see where the kaleidoscope tool gets its name from. It's a kaleidoscope painting tool. And the idea here is that if you wanted to create mandalas or anything like that, that you felt kind of the need to doodle and have a good time and not get too caught up in it, or if you were looking for some sort of Gustav Klimt level decorative elements, then this is a really great tool for generating any kind of decorative elements that you could possibly want. And all the painting tools will work with this. I'm just staying with this particular one, but you could try any tools that you possibly want. You can see how nice that is in terms of quickly generating an interesting fractal looking pattern. Now, the bottom line with this tool, like I said, is that it's somewhat limited in its usefulness. Generally speaking, I don't work with these tools too often myself. However, if you do want to work with these tools, just bear something in mind. They work on layers just fine. And after you're done painting it, you can use our transform tools to transform this and skew it into space so that you could use it as a 3-dimensional decorative object. Now, let's come back over here and look at our kaleidoscope tool options. We have the visibility on and off just like before. We can change the color just like before. We can change the rotation angle either numerically or by simply coming over here and hovering over the line until it changes to the rotation tool, and then we can just rotate it. We can move it by hovering over that center point and just moving it wherever we want, and then as soon as we've moved it, if we come back over to our brush tool, now we can just begin painting right over the top of where we were before. Now, the other thing that you can do with this tool is, like I showed before, we can change the number of segments. And the last thing is that power switch. Remember, the power switch is very important because if you turn off the visibility, but you don't hit the power switch, then you'll still be painting. You might be wondering, why is this still painting a kaleidoscope when I'm not seeing the lines?